think that you're just gonna get up and walk. I realize this spinal cord injury ain't no joke, especially when your C4, C5s get severed.
Welcome to Disability Clinic, where sometimes we just roll with it. I'm your host, Dr. Stephanie Van. I'm a young Vietnamese female with long black hair, wearing a black blazer and a turquoise blouse, sitting in front of a blank white background. My guest tonight is a disabled quadriplegic actor. He's also known as the realist American. Please welcome Anton Clifford. What's up?
Hey Stephanie, I'm glad you brought me through for the interview. I mean, I'm glad to be part of the podcast and share some knowledge about the spinal cord injuries in general, and just what I've been doing with my life too. I'm just delighted to be here and speak. So
Oh, I'm so
having
happy to have you on. Thank you for coming on. It's apparent that you have a disability. You're in a wheelchair. I'm sure a lot of people see that and, they have a curiosity. Do you tend to get a lot of questions when you meet new people about your disability?
Yeah, I get that all the time. Like, people always ask me, from many ages too. Like, they want to know, what happened to you? Like, how did you get in a chair? Like, what? Because they can look at me and tell that I wasn't born in a wheelchair. Most people can tell me. They can look at me and tell that something happened to me. So far, I've just been in this chair for 12 years, and I'm in pretty good shape. I'm blessed, so I'm just gonna keep doing whatever I'm doing. Hopefully, it keeps working.
Yeah, I hope so too. Is there anything that you always wish people knew more about you or your disability? Things you wish you could share more with people?
Yeah, the thing that I wish I could share more as people is, just because you see somebody moving their arms doesn't mean they can move their fingers or their wrist. Like, you see my wrist, I use this, but a lot of people think that just because they see somebody moving their arms that's in a wheelchair that they can move their fingers or their wrist. So they'll try to hand me things in public and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And I catch them before they drop it.
Hopefully that only happens. Hopefully that only has to happen once for someone to be like, "Oh, wait, maybe I shouldn't do that."
Yeah, you would think, right?
I would hope. And that comes a lot of that piece of like you have to still do a lot of educating, even if there's people who are close to you or who like are friendly with you who know you well. Sometimes people still have things that they need to learn or need to be reminded of.
Yeah, exactly. I don't mind educating people. I'm gonna continue probably my whole career. I'd say I'm probably gonna have to educate people too. But now the industry is becoming more informed. But yeah. The more people come around me and stuff like that, they'll get to learn. And then again, every disability is different too. There could be one quad that needs this, and just because I need this doesn't mean he needs this. Like, our area spinal cord injury is not the same. We're all not the same. Just because he's a C4, C5 quadriplegic, he may be able to feel his leg still. He may have that bad. He may be an incomplete injury. Who knows? So
Mhm.
I can't put my just me is just me. It's not for everybody. But as far as being disabled and pushing through this, anybody can do that. As I get closer to 30, I start thinking about marriage and like how I'm gonna be a father in a wheelchair. And I'll go on Instagram and look at my friends that are fathers that are paralyzed and how they're doing it. How they interact with their kids and like how to have kids. I talked to my urologist. He told me about artificial insemination, and I'm like, wow, this stuff is really intense. Like, maybe 20 years ago they probably couldn't do all that, but now they're having to the point where I can live some form of a normal life that won't make me feel alienated from the world,
Mhm.
civilization. So I'm like, yeah, there's a chance for me to be a father, and which I want to be, so I can take my kids to Disney World all the time. It's all about your point of view, how you look at it. It's not going to be, I'm not going to get up and walk and run around and, of course, be able to teach my son how to dunk a basketball like I used to be able to dunk a basketball and swim and do all that stuff. I can't do all that stuff anymore. There's ways around it. That's what I'm learning the more that I see more paralyzed people out there doing it. And that stuff needs to be represented on TV. So that's where I come into place. Of course, it's going to be harder because you have to depend on people to take care of you. And
Everybody to a certain extent relies on other people. It's like even if you're able-bodied or you're not injured, you still need people for certain things.
right.
And some people need people to more of a degree than others. But I think everyone kind of has needs on a spectrum.
I take pride in actually embracing what I am because it makes me who I am. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that's a very healthy outlook. It's hard too because, if someone sustains an injury, it can be a really traumatic thing, and so it's not always a positive part of someone's life. But it's really nice that you're kind of turning it around and making it like an open part of yourself.
Yeah, because I mean, if you don't love yourself, nobody's gonna love you. And I feel like the universe responds to how you respond to yourself. So you put that energy out there that everything's okay, I'm good, I'm still a person, I'm still have something to offer. The world's gonna pick up on it, and it's all gonna multiply. And that,
Mm-hmm.
I think that goes with anything that you want to do in life. So I really take that to heart. I'm here for a reason. I have something to offer, just like anybody else. I'm just use a wheelchair to get around. I mean, that's the cards I was dealt in life. But hey, I'm here. I mean, it could have been worse. Like I think I told you that my cousin passed away in the accident. Like he's not here, so I got a second chance at life, and he didn't. So what am I complaining about? I don't care what health problems I have, or if I'm in nerve pain or anything. I'm still here. I'm still above ground, and I still have something to offer. And that's the way I look at life.
That's a healthy perspective, and that sucks that you lost your cousin in that accident. But I think that's a really good attitude to kind of just keep pushing forward and do what you can with the time you have. I mean, that's all we can do. Do you feel like your outlook on educating people has changed from when you were first injured to now?
Oh yeah, yeah. Now I had to learn my body myself too, like learn what makes me certain things. Like I mean, I over time after sitting in a chair, I think your first, I would say you learn your body the best the first 3 years. But even now, I've been in a chair 12 years and things still change in my body. I still can't regulate my temperature. I'm always cold for some reason, but I mean, I prefer to be in the sun. I can sit in the sun all day. But then again, I drink a lot of water. So I'm learning, like, I know when I have to use the bathroom. I can't use the bathroom by myself, but I know when I have to use the bathroom. And that came back. That's a good thing,
That is.
especially in this industry. I mean, even though I still have to use the suppository just like everybody else. I mean, well, a lot of people that are quiet, but to use that, and I have a catheter inside me, a suprapubic catheter. I got the surgery for that like 3 4 years ago because I mean it was making it so difficult where people having to do the intermittent catheterization all the time. Like I was doing that like every 3 hours, and then
Mm-hmm.
people have I can't move my fingers, so somebody else would have to do it for me. So it kind of limited me to being able to go out with my friends. Well, my friends would do my ICs for me. I don't think they enjoyed it, but
Some good friends.
yeah,
And
no,
I
I have some good friends.
I like how open you are about that because it's like even years after injury, your body can change, your body adapts, and like you're always kind of learning about how you're feeling, what it's doing, what works for you. That's great.
Like, I talk to a lot of these young kids that get paralyzed when they're 15. I'll talk to them in the hospital, and when I talk to them, it's fear because I mean I can know what they're going through, like not being able to get up without having to depend on somebody else to get you up. Because if the house is burned down, you can't run out of the house. Like one kid told me he has nightmares about that,
Mm,
and having to like because as a quadriplegic, most of us, I mean, there's some quads that are high functioning that can't take care of themselves, but as a C4, C5, I mean, you're really at the mercy of somebody else. Like you do
when it
everything
comes
on
to
somebody else.
mobility, yeah.
Yeah, when it comes to somebody else's time, you're doing them. You have to depend on them to help you use the bathroom and all those other stuff. So I mean, if you don't have that person there for you, I can see why you can go into a dark space mentally. And some of these young kids that are like 15, 16 years old, I got paralyzed young at a young age too, so I can relate to them and talk to them. I mean, a lot of it's pride too, like having to sit there and I mean, they can't function. Their body doesn't function the way it used to, and having to watch somebody else wipe your ass. I don't know if I can use that language. If I did, I mean, sorry, but yeah, having to depend on somebody else to do that, that kind of messes with them mentally in their head because they feel like, oh yeah, I'm grown. I'm 15, 16 years old. Why am I going? My body not? Why is it not moving the way it should be, or the way I want it to move?
Hmm.
And just to have a man do that for you as a man, that can kind of get you down. So you have to really shake it off. I mean, and I understand where some of them. I mean, I hate to say it, but some of them go the route where they just off themselves. They can't take it. I mean, they're going through nerve pain and they're in so much pain. I mean, I have pain too, a lot of it, but I mean, I've learned how to deal with it different. I took pain management classes and stuff like that, and yeah, but yeah, I can see where they can go dark in that way.
It's a
So I mean,
huge
I hope.
adjustment. It's a huge adjustment, like you're saying, and if you're young and like teenagers, they think they're invincible, and then suddenly it's proven that they're not. It's super
Right.
hard, and sadly, like I'm glad you brought it up because that's just the reality. Like actually, one of the most common reasons for young people with spinal cord injury to die is to die by suicide.
Yep.
Um, and that's within the first couple of years of their injury, and it sucks.
I never got to that level. Now I've had dark days though, honestly, because I've had UTIs and stuff that have put me in the hospital for a while and had multiple surgeries and stuff like that. But yeah, acting has that balance. So it's kind of my outlet. I look at it as therapy. Like I look at it as fun too. I'm having fun too, because I can literally be anything that I couldn't be on my feet as an actor. Literally anything. Like there's no limits when it comes to acting. I'm using my imagination. It's always I read the script. It's always Anton featuring Anton. I'll tell my coach that. And my close friend Steve Darren. Let me tell you about Steve. I gotta talk to you about Steve Darren, like and how much he means to me. I was in class one time. We were doing an improv class, and I went up in front of class, and the teacher. This is when I first started acting, and the teacher looked at me. I mean, the teacher was like looking at everybody in the class. He was like, "Does anybody want to go up with Anton and perform?" Nobody got up. Nobody. And then Steve Darren got up there and did it. We did a scene together. We made up a little improv scene. I think we were using like a magic lamp and genie and stuff like that. It went kind of intense, and we got intense. We killed it. But the reason I found out like what drew him towards me is that his brother-in-law is a C6, C7 quadriplegic and is a lawyer in a wheelchair. So he saw me. He didn't look down on me because he takes care. I mean, he sees his brother-in-law going through the same thing as me. Stuff like that. When you have people like that are around you that don't just see you as a disabled person, and you have people rooting for you in your corner, then that kind of motivates you. So if you don't, the thing is, most disabled people have to realize that. I mean, in order for people to want to respect you, you have to get out. You have to get out in front of them, let them see you. Because if they don't have a chance to see you, you're in your room 24/7, just looking at the wall. Which I thought about doing that when I first came back from the hospital. I thought about just being homeschooled and not going back to high school. But some told me to snap out of it. Yeah, I thought about it too. I was like, yeah, because I mean, when I was at the Shepherd Center, I felt safe because I was around my species of people.
Right.
I'm being funny by saying species of people, but yeah, I was around nothing but disabled people. So I was like, yeah. I mean, ain't nobody gonna look at me funny because I'm gonna be around people in wheelchairs 24/7. But when I got out of the hospital and got back to the real world, out of the hospital world, and wasn't around people that were disabled, I was like, yeah. Let me think. Let me think. Do I just want to stay in my room and just chill out for a little bit? Maybe I could do homeschool. Do I want my friends? My friends saw me in the hospital all the time. It's different when you come out of the hospital and you get out, you get released that release day from the hospital. It's like being released from, I mean, it's not like prison in the hospital, but you feel like you're a new person.
Yeah, it's like you're in a whole new world and you're in a totally different environment, out of your comfort zone.
Very, very, because it's like being this, I can't even describe the feeling when they told me I was coming back home. And I was in the car and we had rented a vehicle and just looking at the streets again and just being in a wheelchair, just looking at it from the same. I'm like, man, I got my license before I was paralyzed. I was 16. So I was like, yeah, I used to drive down these streets. Like I used to actually drive, and now I'm being driven. And I'm in a chair, and I'm about to go back home. And I saw my room. I saw the house have a ramp on it. I'm like, oh, wow, this just don't seem right. And then I got back to the house, and I saw like they built a shower, a specialized shower for me. And I looked to my left. Well, you guys can't see it right now. I look to my left, and I see a hospital bed, just like Shepherd Center. I'm like, oh, this is about to be at my house. I'm about to be back in the hospital again. What can I do with my life? And I'm like, yeah, maybe I should just stay in my room and just chill out for a little bit. But now I'm like, nah, I can't do that because it's just going to get worse. It's going to get worse.
I'm so glad that you're talking about that because that is such a natural, like, inclination to just go inside and just be like, you know what? Like, I can't face these big changes. I'm just not going to push myself. I'm not going to move forward. Like, it's such a, that's the easy thing to want to do, right? Like, because it's not as hard as like really facing new challenges and like really trying to go through the motions and move forward with your life. But it takes a lot of strength. It takes a lot of resilience. And you came out better on the other side. Obviously, it's like you learned more about yourself. You're stronger for it. It's very powerful.
Yeah, and then being back in high school, being amongst your friends and stuff like that. I mean, of course, they're 16 years old, so they don't understand what it is to be disabled. They're thinking I'm going to get up and walk 6 months from now. But it hit me the next year when I graduated from high school and I didn't walk across the stage because I had it in my head I was going to walk again and blah blah blah. Because you think that you're just going to get up and walk. Like I'm an athlete, so my mentality is like, yeah, this ain't nothing. But I realize this spinal cord injury ain't no joke. especially when your C4, C5s get severed.
Did you roll across the
Yeah,
stage to get your diploma?
yeah, I did. I ended up rolling across the stage, and high school gave me a standing ovation. And yeah, it's just, I mean, I'll never forget that moment in my life. I probably won't have that moment again until I get my Oscar.
Dude, they're better. They had a ramp for the first time at the Oscars last year because of the makers of Crip Camp, who were nominated for Best Film. Be sure to check out Crip Camp on Netflix if you haven't seen it already. It's a wonderful documentary. You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll feel inspired and empowered.
The best part I ever got is my first role on Queen Sugar.
Thank you so much for tuning into this conversation with me and Anton. If you want to hear more conversations like this, hit the like button and subscribe to This Ability Clinic.
All right, I'll see you guys later. I thank you guys for tuning in to this nice interview and podcast. Felt like we connected a lot. And me and Stephanie had a good conversation. We were able to educate a lot of people about this life and being a spinal cord injury. And I feel like you saw this interview and you just feel like you could do anything that you put your mind to. If I achieve that, then hey, I'm doing the right thing.